Good morning and welcome. It's Saturday the 20th of February. How is everyone doing? Did you listen to the previous show with Hiran, Galaben and Mayaben? What a fascinating and interesting show, very informative, discussing why certain things take place, certain rituals, meaning of certain things. And if you like that kind of stuff, usually we ask our parents, our grandparents, and the normal answer is, oh, we do this because we were told, it's been passed down from generations. So it's really fascinating to hear about some of the explanations. And if you like that kind of stuff, Hiran, Galaben, Mayaben, and sometimes Anish joins every morning from 8 a.m. after the daily Aarti. And it's the Bhajan hour where certain questions are answered. So if you do have a question, do send them in. And join them every morning. They'll be back on tomorrow, and on Monday, the community hour for Monday is the Gujarati show, so you can join them in on there. And talking about community show, every day between 6 and 8 p.m. there's a different show presented in a different language, so do tune in. So how's everyone been? I'm sure everyone's waiting for the announcements that are going to be made on Monday. What's been happening this week? Well, there's quite a lot of stuff that's been happening, especially with the royal family. We heard that the Duke of Edinburgh has been admitted into hospital. The announcement of Harry and Meghan, they moved to America. They were stripped off their HRH titles. But now they're doing a documentary with Oprah Winfrey, which should be out soon in the next couple of weeks, I think. And as a result, there's been a little bit of a debacle between the Queen and they're not also they've been stripped off their charitable official duties as well. So, if you're interested in those stories, do check them out. But interestingly, if you remember, last July, the rover Perseverance robot was launched up in Mars. That landed on Thursday. So that's quite exciting if anyone's interested about that. And why are they doing that? Because they want to kind of find out if there has been any life, or is there any life currently or previously on Mars. Today's show, we are talking about an eye condition called Retinitis Pigmentosa. Why? Because February is Retinitis Pigmentosa month. And for those that may not know what Retinitis Pigmentosa is, it's a degenerative eye condition. It also happens to be the eye condition I have been diagnosed with. In my late teenage years, I was struggling to see in the dark, in dim lighting. So whether that's in restaurants that are dimly lit, wedding receptions we go to and it's quite dim, cinemas, all those kind of places. And even in the winter when it gets dark early, you have street lighting, you have shop lighting, car lights, but sometimes that's not enough. So I was noticing I couldn't see in the dark or in dim lighting. I couldn't see in very bright lighting, so it would be like a glare. But also if I'm looking straight ahead, I was struggling to see around me. So imagine looking through a tunnel, and you could just close your fist and have a little hole and you look through it, or perhaps using a kitchen towel or a toilet roll. All you can see is looking into that hole, but you can't see what's around. So what was happening to me, I was losing my peripheral vision. So if I'm looking straight ahead and walking, if there were steps coming up, if there were things on the floor, chairs not tucked in under a table, cupboard doors open, I wouldn't be able to see that because it's out of my field of vision. Equally, if things are coming up beside me or even above me, so the overhanging branches you get, I'd walk straight into them because I wouldn't be able to see. And as a teenager, it was quite scary not knowing what's going on because it wasn't happening to anyone around me, my friends. I kind of put it to exam stress. Exams were coming up, but it persisted for a couple of years. I finally went to the optician, who then referred me to an eye hospital. Lots and lots of tests, and it was confirmed that I had this eye condition, which basically means that over time my sight's been deteriorating, so it's been getting worse. So now I don't really see much apart from light and dark. So I can tell when light is shining through the window. I can see color contrast. So if you happen to be wearing a black top against a white background, a white wall, I'll be able to see the color contrast. But in terms of recognizing people and their faces, I've lost that ability. Equally to read and write, over the years it's been getting worse. So reading a book, writing on a piece of paper, all that's faded. I can't seem to see any of that anymore. But we're talking to two guests this morning, Anjani, who will be joining us and will be sharing her diagnosis of retinitis pigmentosa and how she's managed to live with it over the years. She's a therapist. She used to be a graphic designer. So we'll be talking to her, but also we'll be joined by Matt from Retina UK, from the charity that supports people affected with this sight loss condition and their families. And it's quite interesting because the charity used to be called RP Fighting Blindness when I came to know of them almost 10 years ago now. And we'll hear why they changed their name. There's many conditions that fall under the retinal dystrophy umbrella term. And there's a lot more people Retina UK can actually provide support to, provide a service to, whether that's a helpline. But we'll find out more from Matt when he joins us. Let's start today with our first song, which is Ajabasi from the film Om Shanti Om.
आई ऐसी रात है जो बहुत खुश नसीब है, चाहे जिसे दूर से दुनिया वो मेरे करीब है, कितना कुछ कहना है फिर भी है दिल में सवाल कहीं, सपनों में जो रोज कहा है वो फिर से कहूँ या नहीं, आंखों में तेरी अजब सी अदाएं हैं, हो आंखों में तेरी अजब सी अदाएं हैं, दिल को बना दे जो पतंग सांसें ये तेरी वो हवाएं हैं, तेरे साथ साथ ऐसा कोई नूर आया है, चांद तेरी रोशनी का हल्का सा एक साया है, तेरी नजरों ने दिल का किया जो हशर असर ये हुआ, अब इनमें ही डूब के हो जाऊं पार यही है दुआ। तेरे साथ साथ ऐसा कोई नूर आया है, चांद तेरी रोशनी का हल्का सा एक साया है, तेरी नजरों ने दिल का किया जो हशर असर ये हुआ, अब इनमें ही डूब के हो जाऊं पार यही है दुआ, आंखों में तेरी अजब सी अदाएं हैं, हो आंखों में तेरी अजब सी अदाएं हैं, दिल को बना दे जो पतंग सांसें ये तेरी वो हवाएं हैं।
COVID-19, especially the new variant, is spreading quickly across the country. This puts many people at risk of serious disease and is placing a lot of pressure on our NHS. Once more, we must all stay home. If it is essential to go out, remember, wash your hands, cover your face indoors, and keep your distance from others. Vaccines give clear hope for the future, but for now, we must all stay home, protect the NHS, save lives.
So that was its song Ajabasi from the film Om Shanti Om. Before we played that song, I said that we'll be joined by Anjani, who will be talking about her experience of being diagnosed with the eye condition, and we'll be joined by Matt from Retina UK. If you have any questions or would like to get in touch, please email Bhavini at bhfradio.org.uk, or you can download the BHF app, the radio app, and if you go into dedications, you can send your messages or comments through there, which will come directly to us. So Anjani, good morning. How are you today?
Good morning and namaste to all your listeners. I'm very well.
Thank you. Good to hear. So we are talking about RP, retinitis pigmentosa, because it's February and it's a month dedicated to raising awareness of the condition. And you have RP. When do you want to let us know, like, when you were kind of diagnosed and how it kind of was it a shock, surprise? Do you have any of the family history?
Yeah, well, I was born in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, and as a child I had night blindness. I couldn't see in the dark. But other than that, I was fine. I could see even when there was a bit of light. Then, as I grew up, I went to a boarding school in India, went to a convent school because my mum passed away when I was 10. So when I came out of school, by this point I had myopia, meaning, very high number. I couldn't see distances. So in those days, with glasses, spectacles meant real glasses. And they were quite heavy, very thick. So when you're 18, getting out of school, going into college, I wanted to look better than I did with those big glasses. And so I went to an ophthalmologist to see if I could get contact lenses. And that's when he told me that I had RP, retinitis pigmentosa. I had no clue what that meant. It didn't really sink in, didn't do anything, because I was still seeing pretty much everything apart from not seeing in the dark. I even took up design because my father was always concerned that I had poor eyesight. So he thought, weak eyes, don't go into studying too much with a lot of books and stuff. So I thought, right, I'll go into art. And I did graphic design, which does use a lot of your eyes. In those days, it was drawing boards and, computers hadn't come in. Then I went to the US, and the only way I could stay there was become a student. So I went to art school there. Then I went to do my master's in computer graphics. Still at this point, I was fine. I was driving, pretty much quite normal. Then when I got married and I came to the UK, so this is the fourth country I'm living in, and I was still driving, working in the computer graphics industry. That time it was just starting out, so leading edge. So it was brilliant for me to begin with. But it took about 20 years, I think, before the sight started to deteriorate. And I then got registered blind in 2006. And that was the point when it was a big shock. It was grief, feeling shame, feeling inadequate, thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to contribute to life and, find fulfillment? And that took me time. But by this point, I was very fortunate. I had met an ophthalmologist who had told me that I wouldn't be able to do what I was doing, which was designing, and that I would need to train myself in something else if I wanted to carry on working. At that point, I couldn't believe it because I thought, I'm driving, I'm still seeing. But what started to go was the color difference. So a light green to a light blue, I couldn't tell the difference. Dark colors, I think it happens to a lot of people, meaning dark blue and black. But it was only when I admitted to, I was struggling along. I didn't want to admit that I couldn't see. And then finally, one of those annual test time in the hospital, I thought, oh, I'm going to give up now. I'm not going to fight this. So in the visual field test, before I used to just press that button, even though I couldn't see that light point. But at that particular day, I just thought, enough is enough. Just be honest and, just press when I could see that light. And I did. And then I was taken to another room and I told, we need to examine you further. Then there was an eye clinic liaison officer. I'm in Leicester. So the hospital in Leicester, they have a society for the blind here called Vista Blind. And this lady took me to a room and, told me you can be registered blind or registered partially sighted. It was my choice. I started to cry. That was such a shock. And I was alone. I always wanted to do things on my own as much as I could. But then she got quite worried. She said, do you want me to call anybody? And I said, no, I will cope. I'm a therapist. I can cope with this. Allow me to just cry it out. Because by this point, I had already I had learned and trained myself and went into the kinesiology, which is a holistic complementary therapy, knowing that I was going to lose my sight, but not quite believing it. But it was fortunate that I did that, because that is using muscle testing, and I don't need to use my eyes as much. I muscle test a person, meaning asking the body questions as to what's happening in that person's health situation, just asking questions, not verbally, by using a muscle. So I don't need to use my eyes, and I still do that. I retired out. Well, early retirement was in 2011, and since then, 10 years prior, I had started practicing as a kinesiologist. So I was able to switch and continue my therapy from home, and that's what I'm doing. Even this year, I'm able to work on the telephone, so I can still work on people using myself as a muscle tester, a surrogate for the person, and tapping into their energy and finding what their issues are. So sight loss is a tough one. It happens gradually. In my case, not being able to go from dark to light, I had to stop because my eyes were not adjusting. Obviously, giving up driving was a big one. Then as the field of vision became narrower, I have tunnel vision. At the moment, it's just blurred, so can't read. But thankfully, we have technology which reads things out to you. And there are many, many other compensations, but the sense of, feeling shame, feeling inadequate, not good enough, all those things surface, and you have to deal with those emotions first before you can do something about it. And over the time, I've done so many different courses, and I've come to understand that in the time of your greatest challenge is where there's that possibility or highest potential of growth. I'm saying potential because you can become bitter or become better, but it's up to us.
Yeah.
And that's
No, yeah, absolutely. And it's fantastic the way you've kind of embraced all the kind of different adaptations and support that was offered to you. But if I may just ask, right at the beginning when you heard, have you got anyone, because retinitis pigmentosa is supposed to be, it is an inherited sight loss, so it can affect family, siblings. Do you have any family history?
I come from a massive family. I'm the youngest one. I'm a child family, 13th, and none of my brothers or sisters have it. So I am, none of my uncles or aunts have it. It is a genetic condition. I'm aware of that, but wasn't able to find it in anybody. So that's why I didn't know what the trajectory was going to be like. I had nobody to sort of compare myself to. And I've had a phenomenal support, though, from my family. But it's just that when I got married, I came here and I don't have any of my own family living in this country, apart from one niece now who lives in London and I'm in Leicester. But it's one of those things. I think we do need support, and I think if you don't have anybody of your own around you, the universe provides you with that support somehow. I have fantastic friends. Thankfully, because of the technology, I'm in constant touch with my sisters and my brothers. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Anjani, stay with us. We're going to go to a track and then we'll come back and we'll, you speak about if you don't have your own family like you, because you're living in the UK and the others are around the world, support comes to you in different ways, and we'll actually hear about that after the track when we bring Matt in. So the next track is Tere Mast Mast Dunin from the film The Bank.
ताकते रहते तुझको सांझ सवेरे नैनों में नैनों में ताकते रहते तुझको सांझ सवेरे नैनों में बसियां जैसे नैन ये तेरे नैनों में बसियां जैसे नैन ये तेरे तेरे मस्त मस्त दो नैन मेरे दिल का ले गए चैन मेरे दिल का ले गए चैन तेरे मस्त मस्त दो नैन तेरे मस्त मस्त दो नैन मेरे दिल का ले गए चैन मेरे दिल का ले गए चैन तेरे मस्त मस्त दो नैन पहले पहल तुझे देखा तो दिल मेरा धड़का है धड़का धड़का है जल जल उठा हूँ मैं शोला जो प्यार का भड़का है भड़का भड़का है नींदों में घुल गए हैं सपने जो तेरे बदले से लग रहे हैं अंदाज मेरे बदले से लग रहे हैं अंदाज मेरे तेरे मस्त मस्त दो नैन मेरे दिल का ले गए चैन मेरे दिल का ले गए चैन तेरे मस्त मस्त दो नैन
तुझसे शुरू हुई तुझ पे ही खात्मा हो दुनिया मेरी दुनिया दुनिया मेरी ये बात
Welcome back, and we have just heard from Anjani, who shared her diagnosis of retinitis pigmentosa. And we were talking about, the different countries she's lived in, and the point in which she had to stop driving as her sight was deteriorating. But we also touched upon the kind of support she was able to receive to help her. And one bit of support as well is the charity Retina UK. I'd like to welcome Matt. Good morning, Matt. How are you today?
Good morning, Bhavini. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for joining us. So, Retina UK, who are they? Can you share more details about them?
Yeah, absolutely. So Retina UK is a charity based in the UK. We're 46 years old this year. Historically, it was started as the British Retinitis Pigmentosa Society and was then rebranded a little while later to RP Fighting Blindness. Now, a couple of years ago, we then did another rebrand to become Retina UK, and that's where we are today. So the charity is there to provide information and support for people who have inherited retinal conditions. So retinitis pigmentosa being one of them, amongst many, many others. Besides the information support, we also fund medical research into finding more about these conditions and looking for treatment. And so far, the charity has invested £16.5 million into that.
That's amazing. What kind of so if someone was diagnosed with RP, or you mentioned that you've changed the name to Retina UK. Why was that?
So there's a couple of reasons. So RP Fighting Blindness, and before that, the British Retinitis Pigmentosa Society. It soon became apparent that a lot of the inherited retinal conditions that we provide the support for, it's not just RP. So there are a number of different conditions, others called choroideremia, Leber's congenital amaurosis, Stargardt disease, Usher syndrome, for example. There are a whole host of different conditions. So a lot of people within the community didn't feel that they were able to connect with us because they didn't have RP. They had a different condition. So after speaking with our community, the decision was made to find something a little bit more fitting for everybody. So Retina UK was born.
Yeah, that's great. And have you found that a lot more people do find that they've been reaching out and reaching for support?
Massively so. So our community currently stands at just over 10,000 people who we're actively engaging with on a monthly basis. That's either through our social media presence, so we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, the newsletters we send out, email bulletins, people coming to our helplines. We have a number of other services that we provide for people. So it could be local groups, for example. So in the past, we've done face-to-face groups around the country, but with the pandemic as we have it at the moment, a lot of those are moving online. But we very much hope to resume that face-to-face contact very, very soon. It's something we've desperately missed. So yes, we have groups in London, which is a very, very popular group, Birmingham, Scotland, Hampshire, the Isle of Wight, Merseyside, Milton Keynes, Oxford, Somerset. They're literally all over the country, and we're actually planning to start a new one in Manchester in the next couple of months as well.
Oh, great. And you also, the way I got in touch with the charity almost 10 years ago was by attending the annual conference, and that really is a place where you meet other people with sight loss, with inherited sight loss. You hear from inspiring people who share their stories, so a way of connecting, motivating, and just sort of learning how everyone kind of manages and adapts. But we also hear from the scientists. Do you want to share a bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So the annual conference is my baby this year. So I'm one of those who's on the planning group for that. So yeah, historically we've had face-to-face annual conferences. And as you say, we have eminent professors, we have really, inspiring people coming on to speak about the science, the research, where the treatments are, as well as people who actually have the conditions as well. So it's a great way for anybody, whether you're in the medical, scientific, or in the community who's actually directly affected by these conditions to come and find out more. So indeed, this year we are holding an annual conference. Alas, it will be our first one being held virtually. And as I said before, we very much hope to get back to face-to-face as soon as we can. So that was going to be on Saturday, the 17th of April. So it's free for anybody to attend, and there'll be more information on our website.
Yeah, and we'll get details of how people can sort of tap into some of the services and reach out. Matt, if I may, I've just had a question from a lady who'd like to remain anonymous. Some of the symptoms that I and Anjani both mentioned feels her husband is going through. What should she do? She's been to the optician who say there's nothing more they can do. But it sounds like she's saying I should go and get referred to the eye hospital. So if the optician is saying no, what can she do?
The best thing I can suggest that they do is to speak with their GP and ask for a referral to the eye clinic. That's usually a far quicker route into the hospital system. The clinics are still running at the moment. However, they are running at a lower capacity to what they would do. So unfortunately, there may be a little bit more of a wait. But absolutely, go and speak to your GP and get a referral to your local eye hospital.
Yeah, definitely. And also some of the, you carry out research and clinical trials and fund those. What is the latest on that?
Yeah, so we fund pharmaceutical companies and research laboratories who are looking at different genes. So this was another reason why RP, fighting blindness, was changed, because RP as a condition, it was thought to be a condition, whereas now we know it to be an umbrella for a number of different genes which cause very similar symptoms. So the tunnel vision, the night blindness. So I myself as well have RP. I know my I've had a genetic diagnosis, so I know which one of my genes is faulty and that's causing those issues. So when they're looking at these particular genes, they're then starting to look at how it affects people, whether it acts fast, whether it acts slow, and whether they can then develop any treatments. So far, although we've been going for a number of years and there's been millions and millions invested in looking for treatments, there is actually one treatment available now for a very specific group of people with Leber's congenital amaurosis. You need to have 2 faulty copies of the gene, and again, this is where we need people to have a genetic diagnosis, which is a very key thing for us this year. We've got a big project ongoing at the moment called Unlock Genetics. So we're looking for people to get genetic diagnosis done through the eye clinic. It's a simple blood test. That's then sent off to one of the testing centres in the UK, one of 3, and that will then tell you where your faulty gene is, because it's a genetic condition. The more people we can have doing that will speed up the process of looking for future treatments.
That's really positive, and that's so hopeful, because Anjani, I'm sure you can agree, when I was diagnosed in the late 90s, all we were told is that you've got this eye condition and there's nothing they can do, there's no treatment, there's no cure. So actually that is really positive news. Is that what you were told, Anjani?
Yes, in my case, because I didn't know much about it, I started to look for things online. That's where I came across Retina UK, and I attended one of their patient information days in Oxford. In fact, my husband and my son came with me, and they talked about genetic testing, And I asked, how do I get it done? And I was informed about getting myself referred by my GP to these, choices of Manchester, Oxford, and London at that time, Moorfields, Oxford, or Manchester. So I opted for Oxford. I had to fight with my GP in the sense of I had to insist that they write to the Oxford for genetic testing, because they said, well, I'm already referred to my local hospital. And I said, no, my local hospital doesn't do gene testing, but can I? At that time, now things are different. This is 2011. Because I have no other family who has the gene, I had to get my son for him to get tested as well, just to find out whether my genes came from both my parents, because I don't have either parents to get the blood test from. So there are ways around to get your genes, defined.
Yeah, and I'd encourage, if you're able to get that done. Stay with us. We're going to go to our next track, Aankhon Ki, from the film Hum De Dil De Chuke Sanam, and then we'll hear more about if anyone thinks that they may have the condition or the different ways that the charity can support and how people can get in touch. We'll be back right after this track.
तुम्हें देखती है जो बात कहना चाहे जुबान तुमसे ये वो कहती है
आँखों की शर्मो हया माफ हो तुम्हें देख के छुपती है उठी आँखें जो बात न कह सकी झुकी आँखें वो कहती है
आँखों की गुस्ताखियाँ माफ एक दिल तुम्हारे लबों पे लगा लूं हाँ चंदा और सूरज की नजरों से तुमको बचा लूं ओ पलकों की चिलमन में आओ मैं तुमको छुपा लूं ख्यालों की ये शोखियाँ हरदम तुम्हें सोचती है जब होश में होता है जहाँ मदहोश ये करती है
आँखों की शर्मो हया माफ हो ये पल पल जो होते हैं बेकल सनम तो सपने नए बुनती है
आँखों की गुस्ताखियाँ माफ हो
Hi everyone, this is Navin Kundra and you're listening to the one and only Bhavini Makwana here on BHF Radio. This is the best Saturday morning show on the planet, so keep it locked.
Welcome back. We are speaking to Matt from Retina UK and Anjani, who has shared her diagnosis living with retinitis pigmentosa. I have had a question come through, and I've heard this quite a lot actually. Treatments across the world, various countries promising, offering cures for these conditions. But there's a very important message that you need to know. Matt, can I offer this question to you? I mean, what would you say to this listener who has potentially found something that says that's going to cure her partner's condition? It does say RP. What advice can you give?
You know, it is such an emotive subject because all we want to do is to make people better. It's just part of human nature. We are clinging to every little morsel of hope that we can. The fact of the matter is there is only one treatment available, as I mentioned before, for a very, very specific few people with a condition. And quite often people are tugging on heartstrings across the world saying we can solve this problem. The vast majority of this they're either scams or it's untested and potentially very, very dangerous treatments. We've heard of some horror stories of people being stung by bees and by the insects and having various fluids and things injected into them. Is simply not safe. If you know what your genetic diagnosis is, so you know what particular gene is causing the problem, or you know the name of the condition at least, there is a website you can go to, and it's www.clinicaltrials.gov. Now, this is a great resource. You can search for any condition. It's not necessarily related to eyes, and it will tell you whether there are any clinical trials or what the latest research is against either that gene or condition. So I would implore anybody to go there first. And please don't go travelling anywhere, even if it's in the UK, for people promising to give you a treatment, because it simply is either isn't true or is completely untested. It's very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as we were talking, I've just had another comment come through. She wants to remain anonymous. She was diagnosed 2.5 years ago. She feels depressed. She doesn't have anyone that she can talk to. Nobody understands. When she tries to explain to her family, they think she's making it up, that she can't see. What kind of support can we provide to her?
We have a fantastic resource. And happily, Anjani is one of those people who can support here. We have a couple of different helplines. So one is by email. So if somebody wanted to email in questions, then they're able to do so. But we also have a telephone helpline. So both of these are available for anybody to access, whether it's somebody with a condition, a medical professional, a family member. And everybody who works on that helpline has sight loss. They have an inherited retinal condition. So they can really empathise and completely understand where everybody is coming from. And one of the benefits of people having that experience is they can also suggest ways that you can overcome a particular barrier, how they deal with things on a day-to-day basis. So the helpline would be a fantastic place for her to reach out to. So the helpline is open Monday to Friday between 9:30 in the morning and 9:30 in the evening. And the telephone number for that is 0300 111 4000. So those calls are just at your local rate. So if you phone it from a mobile phone, then if you have inclusive minutes, it just comes out of those minutes. There's no additional cost to that. And if they want to email through, they're able to do that. Again, people that monitor those emails, each of them has an inherited retinal condition themselves as well. And that email address is helpline@retinauk.org.uk.
Yeah, and just to sort of confirm, Retina UK is RETINA. Yeah, and as well as the helplines, the local peer groups, we did mention that they are online at the moment. And I think they're a valuable resource to tap into, because you get to speak to other people who are actually going through the same as you. So even if you just join and you just want to listen, there's no pressure to actually say anything. And once you're feeling a little confident, you can then sort of progress to the next step. But even the helpline, if you want to just talk to someone and you don't have a particular question, they'll happily listen. I mean, Anjani, you're on the helpline. Do you get many calls where you're just simply listening, just allowing that space to someone for them to share?
Absolutely, and it's so fulfilling. It's a voluntary. Anybody can. Well, it's a volunteering situation. So all of us who have the sight loss experienced it, we understand where somebody is coming from, and we just go with whatever is required at the time. If somebody wants to talk about it for half an hour, or if they've got any questions, we don't know what is going to come up, but it's a fantastic resource, and I think anybody should reach out. Everybody who needs it needs to reach out, because you're not alone. That's the bottom line. We need to make sure that, we are there for each other in this world. We are connected, and we don't need to be alone. But the point is, you have to take that action and phone or email and ask for help, because help is there.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're someone that may not understand English, or English is not your first language, we do have people on the helpline currently, Gujarati, Punjabi, Urdu, Hindi. So there are different people on the helpline who speak a number of languages. So if you think English might be a barrier, don't let that put you off. Please do get in touch. Matt, can you share other ways that people can get in touch, like the website perhaps, just once more?
Yeah, of course. So our website is www.retinauk.org.uk. So again, Retina, RETINA, UK.org.uk. So the helpline again, call through on 0300 111 4000. And the helpline email address is helpline@retinauk.org.uk. As you said, Bhavini, we have the peer support groups. So if anybody wants to join on one of those, they can go onto our website and sign up to receive our e-newsletter. They come out every couple of months, and we'll publish in there dates as to when the events are happening, and you can then sign up for those individually. And again, for our conference that's coming up in April.
Yeah, fantastic. And I would just like to finish off by saying, the charity is not just there for the person with the eye condition, it's for their families as well. I mean, it was amazing when you had the families conference a few years ago, and it was the first time my parents came along and spoke to other parents. So, it was a support for them as well. And I think that's the fantastic thing that you offer.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. I know it's been short, but I hope, we've been able to get some messaging out there. And Anjani, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your personal story with us. If you are listening and you think you may have one of these conditions, or you do know and you'd like to tap into the charity or the support groups or even the helpline, please do reach out. There's also Facebook groups, and you can get the information about that on the website. And there may be questions on there that you may like to just scroll through that you're thinking of. So there's loads and loads of people on there that, you know, can relate to your experience. So please don't feel alone. Please don't feel that you can't speak to anyone. Please do reach out. And as Anjani has mentioned, you know, with adaptations, with the right support, life is beautiful, right, Anjani?
Absolutely, you gotta live it.
Yeah, thank you. What a fantastic note to finish on. Thank you so much for coming on. We will go to our next track, Lela or Lela by...
from the film Kurbani.
From the film Kurbani, thank you.
हसीनों का मेला
that was Lela or Lela from the film Gurbani. I hope you found that interesting, and it's so important because I am speaking from personal experience. You know, I have the condition and I know how lonely it can be. But like Anjani has said, with the right support, the right help, and other people you can talk to, you can go on to achieve whatever your heart desires. I mean, look at me, I'm on the radio. I never thought I would be presenting my radio show. You know, things are possible. So please do reach out and don't suffer in silence. Next week, we'll be joined by a speech and language therapist, and we'll be finding out more about what they do, why someone may want to speak to a speech and language therapist, and how they can help. And it's not just for children, it's for adults as well. So it's very interesting to know why and what a speech and language therapist does. Please stay tuned in to BHF Radio for the rest of the day. We got different shows and we've got lovely songs playing. We're going to leave you today with the song Aankh Mare from the film Simba.
Oh God, one more remix.
दिल धड़काए और सीटी बजाए, दिल धड़काए सीटी बजाए, बीच सड़क पे नखरे दिखाए सारे हो करके इशारे, हो लड़की हो लड़की हो लड़की आंख मारे ओ लड़की आंख मारे ओ लड़की आंख मारे।
जहाँ जहाँ जाऊँ मेरे पीछे पीछे आए, गली गली के आशिक दोगा मेरा होना चाहे।
हाय जहाँ जहाँ जाए तेरे पीछे पीछे आए, हम तो है दीवाने तेरे, तेरा होना चाहे।
सीटी बजाए, नखरे दिखाए, सीटी बजाए, नखरे दिखाए, बीच सड़क में हाय नाम मेरा पुकारे, ओ करके इशारे, ओ लड़का, ओ लड़का, ओ लड़का।
आंख मारे ओ लड़की आंख मारे ओ लड़की आंख मारे।
तुषार कपूर की आवाज में कुमार सानू की आवाज में
ओ लड़की आंख मारे ओ लड़की